Money we make it. Before you see it, you take it. Oh, make me wanna holler. Make me wanna holler. Marvin Gaye, the late great Marvin Gaye. You guys want to take a walk with me real quick? I know you guys, some of you guys are going to be mad at me for that title of the video, but I got to be honest with you. And I'm always going to keep it real with you, and I'm always going to tell you the truth. Sometimes it's my truth, sometimes it's the truth. But I'm going to make some changes here on this channel and in my life as well. And as I'm making the changes in my life, obviously my channel is going to change. Let me say this up front. I'm not against gold and silver. I love gold and silver, man. I love it, love it, love it. Love platinum too. But all the silver I had in my home and platinum, I took those funds and put a tiny bit of it in cash. And you know what I did with the rest. I put it in a Bitcoin. Now let me tell you why I did that. Now I don't have to tell you guys this, and you're not asking me. But moving forward, I'm telling you this because I'm gonna, I'm do videos where I'm at my table and stuff. You're not gonna see a lot of silver. I kept a few pieces here and there, and I have some silver in an undisclosed area, but I have none in my house at all. The reason why I sold my silver and transferred to Bitcoin, and I'll say the first part first. The reason I sold my silver, and I sold a lot of it. It was a lot, man. I didn't even realize I had that much. And there's many reasons. One of them is I like to travel. And even though my home is very, very safe, right? I have a pristine security system. I have things that make it very difficult to find the silver. And if you do, it's locked up pretty good. But I just didn't feel when I was out of town, I didn't feel all the way safe. I just felt like I was always thinking about my precious metals. So that was one thing. Another thing is it was clutter. It was kind of cluttery around the house. That's my fault, of course, because I just like having my silver out and stuff. And when you have silver, you just don't have the silver. You have the things that come with the silver. You got the scales and you got the wrappings and you got just all these things that you have to have if you're, serious silver stacker, that comes with it. And I don't have that stuff anymore, so I'm less cluttery. Also, I just don't feel like anymore how can I say this without pissing you guys off, right? Because again, I'm not knocking gold and silver. I promise you I'm not. I love silver and gold. But I don't think it's what I was sold by the YouTubers and some of the coin shops and stuff like that. The idea of what it's supposed to do for me, right? Because when you buy silver, you pay a premium on it, and it's a very high premium. So you're buying it at a loss right up front, right? Because when you go to sell it back, unless you sell it to an individual, if you're buying it, depends on the market you're buying it. Obviously, you can buy it wholesale from a big wholesaler that the coin shops get it from. You can buy it from a coin shop. You can buy it from an individual. I bought all ways, right? But normally for the average Joe, you're gonna pay a high premium because most people go into a coin shop or they buy things online. That's just what they do, right? And you're buying at a loss. And so what I mean by buying at a loss, again, you don't plan on selling your silver for years and years and years, but it has to go up a good amount and also keep up with inflation just to maintain your purchasing power. Again, it's not about getting rich or nothing like that. I know all that stuff, guys. Trust me, I know. because I know you guys are screaming at your phone or your screen right now when I'm saying this. But I just don't believe silver or gold is doing what it's supposed to do. And the reason I'm saying that is because I got in early. I mean, not early, excuse me. I got in just a few years ago. I got in just about 3.5 years ago, just under 3.5 years ago. I got in July 2020 when I found out about the money system, or the money situation that was broken and all the things that we know about. And I was going through, just like with you guys, I was going through the massive money printing that we've never seen before, right? You know, Donald Trump printed a lot of money for March and May of 2020, a lot. And during that time, now Biden has done more, obviously, but both of them combined, starting off obviously in 2007 and 8, you know, all that stuff with the, you know, the great financial crisis, great housing crash and stuff like that. We've been printing more and more. First we were doing hundreds of billions, and now we're doing in the trillions. And what I've noticed with the money supply going up, gold and silver was not keeping up with that. It just wasn't. And when I got in, I remember, I think spot price was like $24 or something like that. And everybody was going crazy during the summer of 2020 because remember, I think it dropped in March, if I'm not mistaken. Then when it came back up and it got out of the teens, and I was coming in when all the excitement was going on. But the problem is it stays between, you know, it'll get down to 20 or 19, the lowest, but it'll stay in that range of, you know, very low 20s to mid to high 20s. And it just stays there, you know. Now, again, I know it was in the teens before, but we've never had this much money printing. So when I was first involved with silver, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I thought, wow, this is way better than US dollars, which it is, by the way, still. But the manipulation they can put on it through the paper markets, when I started to find out how much actual silver was out there versus the paper markets, now it's a game of, oh, well, we're going to break the COMEX. You know, we're going to break this and this, that, and the third. You know, these paper markets are manipulated and they're lying to us, and all that stuff is true. But I had to say to myself, what's the likelihood of that? Now, mind you, I'm still buying silver because it's much better than fiat. But with the money supply going from 4 trillion to roughly 21, 22 trillion, I think it's at its peak. I don't know where it's at now. But it's much more expanded. And with inflation just going absolutely nuts the way it's been going, and it's going to get even worse, and silver just staying basically within that range, and gold too, between 18 and 2000, I'm like, what's going to happen long term, especially with Bitcoin coming out there? Because here's the thing, guys, you know, as much as us, you know, 35-year-olds to 55-year-old guys love gold and silver, excuse me, the young kids don't. You know, when I talk to my daughter or my grandkids or something like that, you know, they're more interested in digital stuff than analog stuff like us. And they just don't care. And I stacked that stuff, the gold and silver, platinum, for their future. It wasn't for me, it was for their future. And, you know, as much as I tried to sell them and my godkids and my nieces and nephews on how great precious metals are, they just don't like it. I'm not saying your kids don't, or your, you know, the children in your life don't. I'm not saying that. I'm speaking from my personal experience. Let me tell you what they do love, though. They love phones and loves computers, and they love paying with Apple Pay and Venmo and Cash App. Believe me, they love Venmo and Cash App when I send them money. They don't want me to hand them silver. So when I give it to them, they're just like, thanks, Uncle Jerry, or thanks, Dad, or thanks, Grandpa, but what the hell am I gonna do with this? It's like, And with the manipulation going on and stuff like that, I found myself like on a man on an island by myself, you know. And again, I'm not knocking silver or gold. You stack what you like. But 7 months in, around February, March of 2021, that's when I first started buying my first piece of Satoshis in Bitcoin. And I didn't know anything about it. I just started learning more and stuff like that. And as the more I learned, my conviction started getting even stronger. And I realized that this is something very different that I'll get into in more videos, and I have already in other videos. But when I compared it to silver and gold and stuff, at first the gold went. You know, I traded in gold for 4 things. All my gold, I had a lot of it too. I traded in for a little bit of cash, silver, platinum, and Bitcoin. And I just felt like gold was just not it. And when I heard or listened to Peter Schiff before I got into Bitcoin, I believed everything Peter Schiff says, and I still do, by the way, except when it comes to Bitcoin. That man, if he was your asset manager or some kind of guy to giving you advice about money, a financial advisor, he'd be the worst one in history when it comes to Bitcoin. His bias towards it or against it is absolutely insane. And everything that he used to say that I used to listen to before I got into Bitcoin has been debunked. And again, this is not a bash fest about Peter Schiff or anybody that's against Bitcoin, but when you really get into it and you understand this, it's like, wow, it is not what they say it's not, or say it is. And so when you look at the precious metals and the incumbents of it, just, you gotta lock it up and this, that, and a third. And when I got my Bitcoin, and I feel so safe and secure because I have my Bitcoin put away very, very safely, that I have to go different places to get it. But I can buy it every day and put it somewhere that I can't get to it. Nonetheless, someone trying to give me a $5 wrench attack. That's what they call it in the Bitcoin world. But if I had my silver or gold at my house or platinum, somebody can come in and, yeah, I'd put up a fight. But if they overrun me, they could take all my metals, take all my cash, take all my goods, but they cannot take my Bitcoin away from me. They just can't do it. Bitcoin is everywhere and it's nowhere at the same time. I can travel with it. I can go, because I plan on going to El Salvador in April for the Bitcoin halving. I think I want to go there for like a month. I'm looking into other countries, and I'll talk about this in another video, but I'm looking into other countries as a backup to ours, just in case the American psycho becomes the president. Not right after he becomes the president, but if he starts turning this country into California, then this is no longer the United States. But anyways, I'm going to be looking for ascending countries and not descending countries, because not all countries in the West are descending. How you doing? Not all countries in the West. A lot of them in the countries in the West are descending. But there's a lot of ascending countries that I'm looking into raising my grandkids and stuff like that. Because if they keep doing this woke stuff and teaching about all this stuff in these public schools, I'm not for it. But back to the precious metals. I had to really take a hard look in the mirror. And again, I wasn't stacking that long, so thank God I didn't have that much conviction where I was blinded to my ideals, right? You can't, and it's not about precious metals, but you cannot get stuck on ideals, right? Like, I love freedom, right? I'm stuck on that, but I'm trying to get to that freedom by any means necessary without hurting somebody or breaking the law. And if I find different ways to do that, I can't get stuck on certain things to do to get that freedom or to get that sovereignty, peace of mind, whatever you want to call it. I can't get stuck in ideals just because I think it's the best. And when something else comes along, I say, nah, I can't do it. And I was doing that. And then I played the game of, oh, we need both. We need precious metals and Bitcoin. And I'm not saying you don't, but for me, you know, putting that much wealth into precious metals, again, it was cumbersome for me because it was just so heavy. And yeah, I know you guys are saying, oh, get gold. But again, gold to me is not a good monetary metal. And I've explained that in many, many videos. It's not even keeping up with inflation. So when I look at this new thing, this new shiny thing of Bitcoin, I have to say to myself, man, as much as I'm so convinced about silver being a great monetary money / industrial asset, monetary, you know, industrial metal, and how much we need it and stuff like that. What I found is if they need more gold and silver, they can find it. It's not that scarce. Obviously, it's more scarce than fiat currency, of course. But compared to Bitcoin, it's not even close. Bitcoin is the most scarcest thing on this planet. They always talk about the 21 million Bitcoin. There's far less than that, ladies and gentlemen. Far less than that, because Bitcoin has been lost, or many Bitcoins have been lost over the years, millions of them in the beginning when it wasn't worth anything. And now that it is, they can't get it because they don't know the password and stuff, or they lost it on a computer or whatever they did, and they cannot get it back, which contributes to the network. Like, imagine you being a gold or silver stacker and you found out that there was a huge thing of gold that they're waiting on to mine or something like that, but it got shipped off into space or something because you can't destroy it. I was going to say something about destroying it, but you can't. And you no longer could get to it, or all the gold in Fort Knox just disappeared. What would that do to the gold and silver that you have now? Of course it would go up. I'm talking about silver and gold. It'd be more rare. That's what happens with Bitcoin. But there are many, many different options to put your economic energy into. And I had to look. And when I listened to a man like Michael Saylor, who was a much smarter guy than me, that actually sat down, because this guy is an engineer, one of the smartest men in the world. Michael Saylor is the CEO of MicroStrategy. He's probably top 5 in single having the most Bitcoin in the world. You know, the U.S. government has the most. I think Max Kaiser has some. And there's a few others above him. But he has, like, I think it's 173,000 Bitcoin. I think it's 158,000 with MicroStrategy. I think he's got like 17,000 himself. But in 2020, just like me, and maybe many of you, but probably many of you did it before 2020, is we had to look at what's going on with the money. Like, okay, I'm bleeding value here. They're printing all this money. We're finding out about money is not really what it is, because we're not investors. We're workers. We work our job or our business or whatever. We don't have time to understand what money is. We just make it and save it, spend it, and do what we want, or do what we have to do. You shouldn't have to be a part-time investor just to keep the purchasing power of your money. But he sat down and he had to look, and he said, okay, well, how can I keep my economic energy? And he looked at gold, and he looked at silver, and he looked at stocks and real estate and all these different things. And this is a man in 2013 made a famous tweet saying Bitcoin basically ain't nothing. It's going to go to zero or something to that effect. And he took a real hard look at Bitcoin and he said, wow, this is it. And he completely said, okay, this is what I'm getting into. And he went all in. And I remember hearing that podcast when I was first getting into Bitcoin, and I bought more. Now, I still had silver. This is February, March of 2021. And I was like, wow, this guy is, he's convinced, but there's no way I'm selling my precious metal for Bitcoin. No way. You need your precious metal because of this, that, and the third. And again, I had been in for 7 months. So I say all that to say this, right? I'm telling you this because you're going to look at my table where I sit down. I'm not going to have that much precious metals. And you guys are going to ask me why or where is it at? And I'm telling you where it's at. It's mostly gone. There's a big chunk of it's gone. I put a little bit of cash away, very, very short term, because cash is still king right now, ladies and gentlemen, even though I believe Bitcoin and precious metals are way better. But it doesn't matter what we think, it's a matter what people around the world think and what they believe. Because if you go to Argentina right now with their 143% inflation, I believe it's month over month or year over year. Year over year, they're going like 20% inflation per month. Right now, the exchange rate for a US dollar is a little bit over 1,000 pesos. 1,000 pesos for $1. They were on par together back in the early 2000s. 1 peso to 1 peso, 1 peso to 1 US dollar. So the US dollar is still king. And if you live in the United States, I think Tim Ferriss said this best. I think he said in the 4-hour work week, he said, and I never forget this when he said it. I didn't fully understand. He said, earn in US dollars, spend in pesos, and compensate in rubles. Well, I'm at a fourth one. Saving Bitcoin. The US dollar right now is the #1 currency in the world. It's down today. A few percentages. Bitcoin is up over 38,000 US dollars. For one Bitcoin, it takes 38,000 US dollars. And to me, that's a steal, because I believe Bitcoin is worth millions and millions and millions of US dollars per coin because of the scarcity and what it can do for the world. But that's for another video. This is not investment advice, ladies and gentlemen. I am not telling any one of you guys you should sell your silver or gold or anything like that. I'm not even telling you to sell a portion. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and where I'm coming from. And as these next few weeks go by, in the last part of November and December of 2023, as we wane down on this very unique year, and we close in on 2024, I'm just letting you know my channel is still going to be Jerry Loves Freedom. I thought about changing it to Jerry Loves Bitcoin, but no, I'm not going to do that. Although I love my country and I love my family and everything else, my job here on this channel, I believe, and in my life, is to be a freedom fighter and fight for freedom. And again, guys, I don't love freedom because I love Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin because I love freedom. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys.